from the beginning, and speak up if you need something. I got one person here. Anybody out there that I'm seeing right now that has not been at any of the sessions? No, everybody has been at least an intro session, everything else. So we got one person here who this is kind of her first time, so she's just checking us out. So say hi to Cindy. There's Cindy in the red. Okay. Cindy said hi, by the way.
Hi.
So, they say I'll say hi back. So that's good. Cindy's who are you with currently? Cindy, what's the name of the company? Okay, she's with La Rosa Realty, which there are some La Rosas out in Tampa as well. An agent just joined us from La Rosa that was in Tampa, joined us to come out here. So we're going to kind of review a little bit. The first, if you remember, our goal here is the first 20 minutes we're going to spend on what we call corn planting, which is creating business fast. All right. And let me give Cindy a 3-minute synopsis of what we're doing here. So we're going to take agents that are looking to either revamp their business, right, or start their business. So we either, start it or kickstart it. All right. Depending on if they've been in a little bit of a lull, and get to a point where they're creating whatever amount of revenue they need, all right, or they want, okay? And we call it 100K just because it sounds like a good number, right? But it could be whatever it is for anybody, right? Whatever they desire, because everybody's goals are their goals, and everybody has a different version of what success is for them. So we want to kind of be clear on the front part. We do that by attacking two ways. We attack business now. All right, let's get some business started now. We're talking mostly retail business, and I say that because Cindy's an investor. All right, she and her husband have been investors and have bought and held many properties. Okay, all right, but at some point in their career. So to that point, though, that could be a huge differentiator for you, in my opinion, representing people who are looking to do that. Right, that could be an avenue for you to potentially exploit or go after is other investors, because who better to talk to an investor than an investor, right? Somebody's been there, done that, knows hey, look, we were telling just some brief horror stories about trading bad tenants, how the landlords in certain areas tend to trade bad tenants. They go from one quadplex to the next quadplex and just kind of move around a little bit. So they kind of started a commitment group that they just were going to share bad apples amongst each other so they can know and kind of weed them out a little bit. Got to be very little careful how you do that, but it's just, hey, look, well, that's right. That's right, exactly. It's even better not to have a license than to do that. That's a good point. So now with that aspect, though, you're looking to potentially expand upon a retail business, right? Okay, great. Get into more traditional real estate and how it's done. Okay, perfect. And so we attack that portion and now business, and we call that corn planting. It's a way to get business now, get started, jumpstart your career, and start working with people now, right? And then we focus on a long-term plan for your real estate career, all right? And that's evolving with building deep relationships with people and letting them introduce you to other clients and so on and so forth. So we kind of attack it in two modes, right? Everybody's with me on that? Thumbs up if you can give me a with me on that. All right, good deal. Yeah. All right, so in the corn planting, we preach a lot. It's a little different than most real estate companies. Most real estate companies teach you that you got to go get listings first, because your listings are going to lead you to your buyers. Mm-hmm. We kind of do things a little backward here. All right. I'm a firm believer that especially early on, if you're newer in the business, haven't had as much experience, at least in this area and so on and so forth, that we're going to go find buyers, work with those buyers, because a well-qualified buyer ready to go now is basically a paycheck waiting to occur. Let me step back for a second, by the way, too. Something hit me in the last 2 weeks since we've met, guys, is this. Do you understand that the answer to most business problems is revenue? All right? Okay? And I say that because I have to fight it sometimes myself, where I get hyper focused on the expense side. And I'm not saying trust me, I am as lean and mean as you're going to get. I mean, you can't run a model like ours where we only make $250 on a transaction without being lean and mean, right? We've got to find efficiencies in the systems to make sure that we're doing things and still being profitable, right? But I think sometimes we get caught up in the weeds a little bit and it's easy to focus on problems sometimes. And the answer to the problem is revenue, right? There aren't many huge issues out there that a nice series of 4 closings where you're netting $6,000 on the commission, all right, couldn't at least really help with your situation. Am I right? I mean, an extra 24,000 that you hadn't planned coming in, all of a sudden that pops in can be a solution. And so with that in mind, it's funny because I've rededicated myself in the last 3 months of this year for myself for Future Homes since to really focus on revenue, right? That knowing that, hey, look, if because I did my quarter 3, end of quarter 3, beginning of quarter 4 checkup, like I challenged you guys to do, right? To do my checkup, and when I did my checkup, we're right at where I was supposed to be, but I'm not exceeding my budget numbers, right? By any stretch, I'm right at where I wanted to be or said I wanted to be, but why would I stay there, right? Why wouldn't I just go ahead and let's ramp it up, right? Let's go ahead and go. And let me encourage you highly, guys, especially in this fourth quarter, that newer agents, I'll tell you this, that, well, let me tell you the story. My first year in real estate, all right? First year in real estate, I was, my first full year. I got started in the summer because I was a high school teacher. I got started in the summer. My first full year in the real estate. So the following year, right, I was at a more traditional real estate company. We had weekly office meetings that we they can never mandate a 1099 employee or a 1099 subcontractor to attend, but they highly encourage you to be there, right? And so it was kind of a given that you're going to go to these weekly office meetings. There's probably about 30 people in the office, and almost like 30 people showed up every week. And it was funny. And if you guys have heard this story in the past, you've been to 100Ks before. I can't remember how long it's been since I told this, but there were these two. Remember the Muppet Show? Okay, I love the Muppet. Anybody remember the Muppet Show? All right. Well, in the Muppet Show, remember the 2 guys that sat up in the balcony, the older guys, right? They're always had some kind of crass comment to make about the performance that was going on, right? Pretty funny, by the way, right? Okay, so they were these old, crotchety old men, basically, right? Okay. Well, there were 2 of those guys in my office, right? So I'd walk in, and you guys know my story where I was working a lot of buyers at a time, but lower end stuff because I was working first time home buyers, meeting people at bank foreclosure open houses. I was really cranking through, focusing on the numbers of transactions. But if you're going to focus on lower end transactions, you better focus on the volume of them, right? Because we get paid based upon the volume. So I was, literally selling 5 or 6 homes. Even then, I had my first year a month, right? But my average sale price is about $64,000. All right, because that's back in 1994. I was working a lot. There were 2-bedroom, 1 bath. I was telling, why would you rent? I could save you money, get in for low money down, boom. And I was just selling, $300,000 in volume a month. But it took me 5 transactions to get there, where everybody else was doing it in 1 transaction, right? So I come in, and every week there's a board we had to post our sales, right? We had actually like a whiteboard. And so I come in, these guys would give me grief all the time about, hey, Bob, and they just sell another $67,000 home. I'd say, no, I didn't sell one. And they'd say, I said, I sold 3. I said, because if you're going to sell $67,000 homes, you better sell 3, right? And so they were giving me grief all the time. Now, I never saw their name on the board. All right. Okay. So just like, you never saw the guys in the balcony on the stage, right? They just had all sorts of advice for me, all right, how I should be raising my price point and all this kind of stuff. But I'd say, hey, look, dude, when are you going to put something up there? And they're like, yeah, well, it's coming. So I remember vividly walking in that first full year, and it was, I think it was the second week in November, right? And all I heard is it's kind of like church. Everybody sat in the same pew. All right, every week, right? Everybody knew where their spot was, okay? All right. So I would sit there, and they were like just the row behind me and 2 seats to the right, all right? So they said, hey, just so you know, everybody remember, it's over. I said, what? I said, what? They said, oh yeah, come November, the second week of November, no real estate happens after, Thanksgiving comes, Christmas, people's minds are on other things. Nobody transacts business at all, really, from here to the end of the year. So you can just hang it up. And in my mind, I just thought, well, nobody transacts business with you guys ever, right? So what does that have to do with what does the time of the year have to do with anything? But I literally, guys, and I'll let you take a look at me. I literally, and they laughed at me, okay, because I was reading a lot of books at the time about what goes in my mind and what I allow to fester in there, right? I literally stuck my fingers in my ears, all right, and they said, what are you doing? This is before the meeting started, right? They said, what are you doing? I said, I can't afford to hear that. I said, and then I took my fingers out of my ears and I said, you know what? I've only been in this business a little over a year total, right? And I've sensed that realtors are lazy. And the reason I'm able to sell 3 or 4 or 5 homes a month is because most realtors are lazy, right? So if they're lazy the first 10 months out of the year, it sounds to me like they're really lazy the last 2 months of the year, right? So I made it a goal. I said, you know what? I'm going to attack this business in the next 2 months. I'm going to attack it. And I got to tell you guys, all right, from that day, this is the second week of November, all right, I closed 9 transactions that I contracted, all right, that sounds like a disease, all right, that I took to contract, all right, from the second week of November and closed with people I did not even know the day I stuck my fingers in my ears, all right, because I said, all right, I'm going to really dig in now. Okay, I'm going to really focus because I'm really going to make sure I answer my phone quickly because realtors are lazy and now they're really lazy. Now nobody's answering their phone. When 20% used to answer their phone, now 2% are answering their phone. So I'm going to be the part of the 2%. So I just really dug in and started doing it. And my whole sales pitch back in the time was I was selling such low value homes that my whole sales pitch to these people were to get them off the fence was, hey, let's close before the end of the year, because if we close before the end of the year, you will have homestead exemption on your property, all right, for all of next year. But in order to do that, we've got to close by December 31st. If we close on January 2nd, you lose homestead exemption for the entire next year, right? And to them, when you're buying a $62,000 home that's assessed for 50, all right, we're talking about taking their taxes down to 0. Right? Because the homestead exemption is 50 grand, right? At the time it's only 25 grand, but I still sold them on, hey, look, I'll cut your taxes in half. And that's how we're going to get you approved. Because some of these people were, working at Publix and I was getting approved for mortgages, right? And just, we were, finding a way. So that being said, do not allow it's time to settle in and just hunker down and plan for next year. All right. You hear that 100 times right now. You're going to start seeing, and there's nothing wrong with going to a business. We'll do a business planning seminar for 2019, come sometime late November, early December. All right. Because don't get me wrong, it is time to plan ahead, but we are not going to plan ahead at the cost or for the sake of losing business right now. Are you with me? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. All right, cool. Because now is the time to dig in. All right. And the same thing for me. And so that when I'm trying to grow Future Home Realty with agent count and everything else, my goal is to make my agents, our existing agents, more profitable, right? Because that's one way I can increase my revenues, is because albeit 250 is not a lot of money, when you multiply it times 1,000, it can become a lot of money, right? So if I can get all of my 1,000 active agents, right, creating one more transaction between now and the end of the year that they wouldn't have, all right, there's an extra, $250,000 potential of income sitting on the table for me, right? Okay, if I could just do that, all right? So, hey, look, it's time to do that. And I'm going to, revenue ramp up. That's what I'm call it R squared around our house, all right? Because I'm not going to be home as much. The boys know that. It's all R squared for the last 3 years, right? Because I'm ramping up revenue, right? That is a way to, and I'm not going to coast through the end of the year and then hope that 2019, because that becomes the tendency. I've been around the business so long that the tendency is, let's just finish the year and then get ready for 2019. No, let's finish the year on a huge uptick in our revenues. All right. And are my newer agents? Yes. Question? Or just an amen? All right, good deal. All right, gotcha. Very good. All right, we got an amen from the crowd. All right, that's perfect. And so I want to make sure that we're doing that. Now, how do we do that, right? Okay, how do I, if I don't know anybody, I don't have any current business and everything else. All right, I'm a big fan, and we're going back to the basics. And I'll do this for Cindy real quick. This is our mantra here. All right, that this business is simple. We're not going to overcomplicate it, and you got this. All right. What to do is we'll help you with what to do. All right. Cause it's not a huge process. Right. And we're just then going to help hold you accountable to do. All right. And then do it. And that's what the group dynamic's all about. Okay. All right. So we're going to sit again, whatever your traffic generating event concept is. All right. We don't call them open houses. We call them ways to get in front of traffic. Right. So, Brian, I know you and Heidi have been doing some open houses again. Anybody else out there want to share in any open houses between the last 2 weeks since we met last?
Anybody?
Nope. Brian, you want to jump in?
Yeah.
Well, Heidi and I have done, what, 3?
Yeah. Well, yeah, since the last one, 3. Mm-hmm.
3 open houses since the last meeting.
Very good.
And
awesome.
2 were in the same foreclosure in Tampa Palms. This past Saturday was it was a regular open house where we got a couple of good leads.
Mm-hmm.
A couple that wants to move from Hudson down to Northdale area. They owned a house which they just purchased. So we got to figure out how to handle that one. So Heidi and I are going to work on that this week. So that's great. So they just don't like being up in Hudson. They want to be closer into town.
And also we got an older lady moving from New York that wants to move 2 doors down from a family member in Northdale too.
Yeah.
Working on that.
So we got that one.
That's awesome. And here's the reality. I got a call from one of our agents who isn't in this 100K group. He went to the last session, and he just said, "Hey, Bob, I got to tell you." He called me about another contract issue he was having, and we kind of worked through that. But then he said, "Hey, look, I got to tell you, I sat at a regular open house, right? When we call a regular open house as opposed to a bank foreclosure open house, a regular open house, and I just committed to doing 2 a week." Since I attended 100K, he goes, and I literally last week picked up and I just got done writing an offer on a $450,000 home from a person who wandered in to my open house. So the whole idea that open houses don't work, again, if you go with the mindset they're not going to work, they're not going to work, right? Okay. But if you go in the mindset that here it is, all right, it's time for me to meet people and allow me to find ways that I can help them, then I guarantee. All right, I'm just going to continue to encourage you. Matter of fact, that was our challenge, right? One of our things was either you had to show me you had 3 contract pendings, or show me that you did some type of traffic generating event. Now, again, it could be a regular open houses are great. We have found that when you put foreclosure on the sign, people tend to come. All right, and it generates more traffic. All right, but whatever you can do to generate traffic, I'm down with. All right. But the key is, here's the thing. If my goal is I want to get face-to-face, eyeball to eyeball, right, with 30 people this week, right? If you got a really good open house that does 30 in one day, great. If you've got an open house that generates 5 a day, then you better set it 6 times. You know what I mean? It's just, because what are we focusing on? We're focusing on the traffic, because the more traffic you have, the better chance, all right? And here's a quiz again, pop quiz, that people are going to meet our 4 criteria, all right? What we call a buyer, all right? Anybody want to feed in? Okay. Critical point number 1 is?
Willing.
Willing is good. It's not the number 1. That is one of them. I think that's 2 or 3.
Able.
Ready?
Yeah, thank you. Who said able?
Qualifies to.
Yeah, there you go. Able to buy, right?
Yeah.
Able to buy, financeable, all right? Or has cash or whatever, right? Okay, but it has the wherewithal to get to the closing table, okay? Able to buy. Someone else said willing, right? And willing, that was great, and that's one of our 2 or 3. that willing means that they're not just playing around like, hey, look, I might buy in the next, quarter of a century. All right. Okay. We're talking about somebody who's going to buy, sometime, in the next 45 to 60 days. Another one, and that's close to willing, is called
Motivated.
Yeah, motivated or needs to buy, right? There's a motivation around there, okay? Like they're up against a lease coming up, or they've moved here from another state. They're living in corporate housing. They're tired of, they're used to having a home, and now they're stuck in corporate housing with, people banging on their walls and apartment living and so on and so forth. So there's motivation there, right? Okay, so there's a needs to buy. And then the fourth one, which is almost as equally important as number one. Anybody tell me that one?
Loyal to us.
Yeah, good job. Say it again, guys. Say it again.
Loyal.
Hello.
That's a critical component. As critical as number one is number four, right? We kind of sandwich it in there, right? But the most critical, willing to buy and loyal to you are critical. All right. Now, if they're 2 or 3 are lacking a little bit, all right, then we can put them in the crock pot like we talked about and let them stew a little while. And but I'm not going to call them one of my buyers, right? I'm not going to call them an active buyer. If they don't want to buy for the next year, all right, then they are a buyer, and I can stay in touch with them. But I'm certainly not going to put the same kind of effort I am to somebody who can go to contract or is willing to go to contract in the next 30 days.
Okay.
Right? I'm going to focus where I'm going to get the best results. All right. Because we're all focused on the revenue. All right. Now, when I say that, realize what I'm teaching here. People sometimes misinterpret me when they say, oh, I'm going to focus on the revenue. That does not mean that I'm going to go buy 6 Zillow zip codes for $1,000 a month a piece and start, hey, here it is, come hell or high water. I'm going to buy $6,000 worth of leads and I hope they work. All right. I'm not a big fan of it, right? Because I think whatever revenue you generate can get eaten up if you buy the $6,000 you spent. I think what we're teaching here is a way to ramp up revenue without spending a lot of money, right? This is just it's some time invested, right? Now, is it the vision of what you had when you got into real estate? Is it I was supposed to just go hang out at the country club, putt on the putting green, and people walk up and give me business, right? Well, great. If it works for you, if that's what's happening for you, then good on you. Then don't listen to a word I'm saying because you're obviously got it figured out. I mean, and that there are people that do that, right? Just that those are fewer and far between, right? And the whole idea that we're going to go get in front of people and show them, right? Are we going to sell them when they come in the door? No, we're going to help them, right? Our whole idea is that, hey, I've got what they need, all right? And if I do nothing, you're going to see, Bob, you're like we'll leave out the bad word, broken record, all right? Every time I come to these, you tell me the same thing. Well, it's because this is simple, right? And I got this. We just need to put in the effort, right? We've got to do the steps. You cannot reap if you do not sow, right? You've got to put in the work to get it done. So I'm just going to, again, continue to encourage you to do this. And we've got to get good at that, right? We spent a lot of time working on this. A couple of the agents we talked about, and they never got back to me because I'm not sure if they did it. All right, but they're supposed to be sitting some bank-owned open houses in this area in the Orlando market, and my challenge is still out there. If you watch this later, if you're sitting in an open house, all right, over the next couple weekends in particular, and are have some traffic but are having trouble converting, call me because I'm going to run over there. All right. And we'll even go Facebook Live and I'll let you watch me convert these people. All right. I haven't done it with any sense of urgency for probably 12 years, but I have no doubt in my mind that I could convert better than most. All right. I truly believe that because remember, it's all about the confidence, right? All right. You guys want me to come over there in Tampa and do yours as well?
Well, I was going to say, I'll book an open house in Orlando and go do it over there.
Well, come on over. Do it. All right. Yeah.
Until what time frame are you going to be in Orlando?
Well, I'm here. The family, now that it's flu season, I don't fly, so my whole family's here. So we're hunkered down in our house in Windermere. So I'm here on weekends and everything else right now. So I'm not going back to Nashville right now. So
Awesome. Okay. I'm going to
come
see
on over
you
and let me know, and I'll
next
sit with you for an
weekend.
hour and a half, 2 hours, and we'll just role play. And we'll do live role. What better role playing than real role playing, right? And then we can just show everybody else what we do. And here's what I guarantee. Will I convert everybody? Absolutely not, right? But I will show you and give you the confidence that you need, because that's what people want. People want to know that you are the answer to the question they have, right? That you are the solution to the problem that they come up with. That couple that Heidi, you and Brian talked about, that have the home to sell in Hudson. They bought a home just a year ago, and they thought it was, going to be cool, but they realized they don't want to be that far out. All right. They have a problem, right? They have a problem and they need a solution. Yeah. And so you are their solution. So you need to dig down, hunker down, and say, hey, you know what? Give them the confidence, because you know what? They've got busy lives. They got other things to do. They'd like to move, right? I still, for all the NAR dues we pay and everything else, all right, that probably 6 or 7 years ago, the best ad campaign I've ever seen come out of NAR was the whole idea of Mr. and Mrs. Consumer, your life's busy, all right? You have other things on your mind. Real estate's on our mind, all right? This is what we do, right? You have your life. Real estate's our life. Let us take that off your hands, right? That's kind of what we're doing. Why would you, quite frankly, even if I could, I'm not very handy around the house, all right? But usually when I go walking through, even with a screwdriver in my house, Jeanette rips it out of my hand, says, call somebody now. All right. You're going to make it worse. Let's get somebody here that can figure out the problem before you tinkered with it. All right. Because when you tinker with it, it becomes worse, right? Now it's, the $50 repair now costs $500 because you tried to fix it and save the $50, right? So with that in mind, though, we got to look at from a consumer's point of view. Why would you, and we got to do it in our own lives too, right? What is it better for me to hire out? What can be done by other people a lot better who have a strength, a skill set that they do this all day long, right? And it's good to go, right? So, we're getting all sorts of things. We're getting the new house down here in Windermere set up, and so there are all sorts of things that, and I've found a great little handyman that can come out and, I could dig through and assemble a desk in a Murphy bed. All right. Okay. Murphy bed, not so much. Those things are old beasts, but for the frustration and the aggravation that it causes me, all right, I'd be much better looking up agents that have some production that fit into our prime attack mode for future home realty and calling them while there's a dude in my house putting the Murphy bed together, right? I'm much better served doing that, because that is what's going to really generate revenue that will pay for that guy his bill 10 times over, right? Okay. And so we got to make sure that we're doing that. All right. So we're focusing on that revenue. Cool. All right. So Heidi and Brian, if you guys come over this way, all right. Or if you're even out this way, you know what? Let me know if you got something in, Wesley Chapel, maybe I can even run out there. All right. I'm happy to do it. We just need to show some people live what conversion looks like. All right. Or what even an attempt at conversion looks like. Right. Because I can role play it all day long with you, tell you what I do. And I've given you my script, right, about basically telling at the end of the day, here's what I do. Here's why you should use me. And quite frankly, you'd be an idiot not to use me. All right. That's the three-pronged attack. Right. Here's what I do. All right. I'm really good. All right. You can use whoever you want, but quite frankly, you'd be an idiot to use anybody else. All right. Now, I don't say it that way, but it's basically, we boiled it down, that's what and I'm pretty brash. Cause again, remember this, we tried to drive this point home, and those that maybe were listening online last time, you said the audio wasn't that good. All right. Here's what you need to know, right? These people, once they leave your open house, you will never see them again. Okay. So the whole idea that you got a list and you're going to follow up and you're going to send them a personal note and great ideas. All right. Hear me clearly. I'm going to speak clearly into this, okay?
Yes.
Total waste of time. You chasing them, all right, is not going to work. If they are not calling you, or at least, hey, if you remember remember we talked about Pampered Chef, right? Book a meeting from a meeting, right? The whole idea, all right, is you want to book a showing from an open house, right? Now, from just anybody, well, ideally, you've determined if they fit the 4 criteria, all right? Now, how do you do that? Well, you can do that in a short time frame if somebody's willing. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not here to tell you that it's been that long that I'm not that naive to believe that there are some people that are going to totally push back and say, no, I want no part of what you're offering. I get that. So you just say, hey, great. Here's my information. But I'm not going to put them on a list to call. They've already told me. They've already given me every sign that, hey, look, they're not ready right now and they really don't want. They're already getting 3 lists from other realtors and whatever. Okay, great. All right, let them go. All right, look for the one person. If you can find one person each time that you do one of these traffic generating events that needs your help, that is willing to use your help, and that fits those 4 criteria, all right, you'll win every time. All right, so that's the goal. Just never going in. Sandra.
What about rather than showing houses, what about sitting down and doing a buyer's consultation, right? Would that be the same effect, or you recommend showing houses? Well,
not a bad idea, all right, but the buyer consultation, remember the goal for a buyer consultation, there's nothing wrong with them and in our newer agents. A buyer consult is almost like a listing presentation, if you will, but you get them in front of them, come to the office, let's sit down, let's go through all that I do. I'll be honest with you, I do my buyer consult in about 38 seconds at the open house.
Okay.
I really do. Because all you're doing in a buyer consult is telling them what you do, all right, how you can help them overcome a problem and why they should use you. And then a lot of times they end it with sign here on this exclusive buyer agency agreement, which isn't worth the paper it's written on. All right, because to enforce that, you have to take somebody to civil court. All right, which, please, all right, that's like me putting a Murphy bed together. Let's just go, right? Let's just go spend our time elsewhere rather than going through a lawsuit. Let's go find somebody else who wants our help that's going to really abide by that 4 criteria. All right, because and by the way, again, and I hear you. And there's nothing wrong. And by the way, ladies, men, everybody, all right, if you don't feel safe with these people, this is not somebody that fits the 4 criteria. All right, maybe we should have a number 5, all right, that you feel safe showing property to, all right? If you don't have a sense that you're comfortable doing that, right, then don't do it. But there were times, I think Heidi and Brian told us last time about an instance where they, the advantage of having 2 realtors at the open house is that they had somebody come in and said, and they were prepared and had other homes in the neighborhood that were for sale. And so people that, well, this really doesn't fit. I really need a 4-bedroom instead of a 3. Hey, great. Here's one over here. And then Heidi or one would stay at the open house and the other would go show the property. All right. So that's kind of you talk about, getting them, because once they get into the habit of, hey, you're the person they call when they want to see a home, right? That's what you want, right? You want them into the habit of, hey, I just saw something come on the market on Zillow. I don't call the agent on Zillow. I call Angie, right? That's what you want is that, hey, look, that's where, hey, and by the way, should you have a discussion once you start showing property, have a discussion with these buyers about Zillow and all these other places that absolutely, because are they going there? Absolutely. Sticking our head in the sand and trying to pretend like they can't find the listings without us is wrong because we know they can, right? So cover it. Say, hey, look, you're going to find that, I said, great. I mean, whatever sources you get, if it's on Zillow, I'll find it. All right. I'll find it, again, one of the advantages of having me represent you. And again, remember, here's your value proposition. Here's a huge one, right? This is gold. All right. You're going to, I somewhere in my buyer consult during 38 seconds, all right, would factor in the fact that, hey, look, where else are you going to get a place where I can represent you as a buyer and the seller pays me to do that? Right? The seller pays my fee to represent you. That's a huge thing. And if people, a lot of times, especially first-time home buyers or anybody else, they don't fully grasp that. Even multiple home buyers don't grasp that concept, right? They, they don't fully understand the concept behind, hey, here's, where it is a pretty good deal, right? And I use the analogy of it's where, you're a lawyer representing the plaintiff, but the defendant is paying the fee. That's kind of a good deal, right? All right. So where else are you going to get that? And so that is if people don't see that and see the advantage of having you represent them, all right, then let's wait for somebody else to walk in the door. Okay. Right. And that's why we set the higher traffic generating places so that we get more chances to meet people that understand that benefit. Fair enough? Cool. Mm-hmm. All right. So we're going to get good at doing that. Let me know if you've got an open house coming on and we'll figure out a time that I'll get over there and we'll figure out a time and a place to see if we can convert, especially one that, hey, give me, hey, Bob, we're averaging one person come through. All right. Let's get one where we got some heavy traffic. By the way, that's the ones we're looking for, right? Mm-hmm. People say, what's the best open house? Oh, is it in this price point? Is it the answer is the best traffic generating event is the one that generates the most traffic. Okay. The answer's in the problem. Right? Is that is the answer, is the one that's going to give you the most chances to get eyeball to eyeball in front of people. All right. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So we're going to get at that. And that part of that is becoming an expert in investor buying. All right. Which we got one here. All right. That's great. Again, who better to lead someone through a minefield that someone's been through the minefield. Right. Okay. It's just, and somebody else is doing it, because when you sit, especially foreclosure, you get a lot of investor traffic. Right? People thinking they're going to do that. You're going to be seeing an email from a future home agents. You're going to be seeing an email from us coming out covering a lot of things. Let me just, every chance I get to be either face-to-face or in some cases, we'll call this face-to-face, even though it's really pixel to pixel, right? We'll call it face-to-face. You guys good? All right. So remember, we do not do assignable contracts without prior written permission. Okay. What does that mean? I have no problem. We had 4 run by through us to this week. All right. I gave my blessing on 3 of them. All right. And kibosh the 4th. All right. Why? I have no problem with assignable contracts if they make sense. Some investors write them, hey, look, I'm going to write it this, but I'm going to set up an LLC, separate LLC for each of my rental properties. So that's why I want to sign it to the new. Fine. Okay. That makes complete sense. All that's good. What I'm up against, all right, and I say this just because you're going to run into some investors, all right, is that when we get into the wholesaling aspect of things, all right, and they're out there, right, they all go to these Ron LeGrand, seminars that people are going to show them how to buy listen to the radio today, all right, and talk radio at all, and you're going to hear, hey, seminar, Sunday, come learn how to buy money with other people's money, using other people's cash, there's absolutely zero money, becoming the investor of the world, other people's money, right? What they're saying is they want you to be the bird dog to go they're teaching these people to go find the deal and sell the deal to somebody who has the money. That find the deal guy and sell the deal guy is called the wholesaler, all right? In an A to B to C scenario, A is the current seller, C is the end buyer, B is a middleman, unlicensed, all right, who wants to make $15,000 for finding the deal and flipping that deal before he even buys it, right? Fair enough. I understand the concept better than they do, all right? Yet they want to yell at me because I don't allow my agents to do them, all right? Because there is risk involved if and we certainly don't represent B. Because we sell real estate, we don't sell contracts. And that's all B is selling, right? B is selling the rights to a contract that he has, all right? And my problem with B's usually is the contracts they like to write are really option contracts that says if they can't find a C buyer before it's time for them to close, then they lose their $10 option fee, right? Because that's all they wrote in there. And our agent didn't even realize it was there, all right? And now the A seller is ticked, right? Like, how do they just get out of it? Well, they got out of it because they're not going to exercise their option. What do you mean option? I thought we had sold this home. Well, no. All right, we hadn't. So that was a quick plug. You'll see an email coming out about any assignable contracts, and that's why all the file compliance team in Tampa knows to flag them and push them up the pipeline to me. All right. So that I get to review them. All right. Where we have some problems is agents close these deals. Oh, it moves so fast. It was a cash buyer. Next thing you know, it's closed. And here I'm loading it into paperless pipeline now. Well, it's a little late. All right. Okay. Deal's closed. I can't, help you figure out or tell you no when you've already done it. Right. So I want to get that out there that you need to have permission on the advanced side to do that. There's a great class on FHR University about how to speak the language of an investor. All right, probably talks something that you would understand completely, but how investors would look at a piece of property. Because remember, investors don't buy homes; they buy the cash flow associated with the home. That's all they're buying, right? You and your husband didn't buy motels or hotels. You bought the cash flow that the hotel represented. Okay. You bought the books, and that's exactly what investors do, and that's what they should do. All right. Okay, cool. All right, so we'll talk about that, or you want to be good at that. Take a look at that class. It's pretty self-explanatory. Work first-time home buyers with vigor because you're going to meet them, and they're very loyal. The number 4 part of a first-time home buyer is almost it's a foregone conclusion, right? If you can get them before anybody else does, all right? And remember, the other thing is, what's your motivation to go do an open house every day? Is because we want to save the consumer from all the bad realtors that are out there, right? Because if you aren't out there saying, I'm open for business, come meet me and let me help you solve your problem, right? They're going to go meet their aunt, all right, who's not a good realtor and doesn't understand any of these concepts, and they're going to make a bad decision, and your job is to save them from those bad realtors. Fair enough, all right? So if that doesn't motivate you, that you're putting on your cape every day, all right? That you're out there to rescue the populace from all the bad, realtors that are out there trying to pretend like they know what they're doing. All right. Because only 20% do. Right. We've come to that conclusion. All right. So we want to be one of the 20%. So we're highly educated and we do have solutions for them. All right. And to go the other direction. All right. And then our buyers, therefore, are going to lead us to our listings. Case in point. All right. Brian and Heidi just referenced somebody they met that wants to move into the Northdale area. But what was the key component? They have a home.
Yep, to sell.
Right?
Hello?
We can't hear you.
You said problem is I want them to hear you here locally, so I got to figure this. So I plug in my microphone, and only I can hear you when I have my earpiece in. So I unplug it so they can hear the speaker. All right, I'll figure it out. We'll get this all squared away. Mara, if she's still on there, if not, Mara, when you listen to this later, research a good system like a conference call little gizmo that sits in front that I'm sure I could plug in that would be a speaker that we could hear everybody, and there's easily a solution for this. So, and if I'm thinking, by the way, would you guys be interested? I'm thinking about doing quote unquote office hours once or twice a week on Zoom, right? Where I could do it from wherever. All right. And then you guys could do it from wherever, and I could just have open office hours. Hey, look, obviously people call me all day long. Trust me, Jim and I field on average about 30 phone calls a day on contract questions. All right. Between the two of us. All right. So we handle a lot of that. And so if you can always reach out. All right. So that's not a problem. But if I'm tinkering with having some set office hours too, that I can do that. I got the idea. I'm taking my MBA courses online, and all of the teachers, they all have their office hours. Right. So that's how we do, class sessions and all that kind of stuff is online. So, all right. So we're going to let our buyers lead us to our listings rather than vice versa. All right. So, and it happens, right? Case in point, you guys are staring a potential listing in Hudson in the face because of an open house you sat in the Northdale area. Right. So it's kind of a cool scenario. So good. All right. So that's kind of corn planting in a nutshell. And I hit that whether I wanted to or not. All right. So now we get into orange groves. As opposed to corn's fast. We also teach orange groves. This is a longer term situation. Here's where I want to go on orange groves this time though. All right. So I'm going to put up the whole. Let me go back. Okay. So the things that we know to do in orange groves, right? That's more of the Michael Mayer 7 Levels of Communication. It's a book we read that is talking about developing long-term relationships with people, right? I'm a firm believer in this portion of the business. Ideally, right? Remember, at the very back, one of our goals was that we were going to show a way to create a residual income out of real estate, right? Which is unique, right? Most people are just on a hamster wheel, running as hard as they could, get to their revenue number for the year, and then take a break on January 1st and get back on the hamster wheel January 2nd, right? Nothing wrong with that, okay, because it can generate more revenue than most other businesses. However, right, what do we do if we don't want to be on a hamster wheel forever, right? What do I want to do if I want to develop a long-term business? What if I wanted to create a cash flow that somebody could come and buy my business, right? Okay, and that's what you want to do is that down the road, let's see ourselves 15 years from now, and we want to kind of really slow it down. What would that look like? Well, there may not be somebody that says, I'm going to buy your book of business, but there would be somebody that says, hey, look, I'm younger, ready to run buyers around and all this stuff. And you've had 15 years of satisfied clients that are constantly throwing you leads, right? Because they trust you. How about, all right, by the way, those are orange trees, right? How about you've developed this orange grove so well that now you're sitting on the porch in a rocking chair, sipping a glass of orange juice. All right, let's keep the analogy going, right? And for those of you mimosa people who want something else thrown in there, feel free, all right? But sipping your orange juice and watching other people pick your oranges, and then they take them to market, get them all, convert them into dollars, because oranges are just oranges until they're converted to dollars. And then when they do so, they bring you back 25% of the profit, right? Oh. And they said, hey, look, right? That's the vision of having some of these referral-based businesses like Michael Mayer has. Michael Mayer, all right, if you've read his book, you know, he lived out what he teaches in that book, but you also understand that he now lives in Atlanta. His focus is on his speaking engagements and all that other stuff. But you also understand that he has a team in Kansas City that still sells 170 homes a year, all right, under the name. He actually phased it out of, it used to be the Michael Mayer Group, but now it's the home, that team or something like that. And one of his top buyer agents that's been with him for 12 years bought out, and now, but she still pays him. She runs the team, and she, though, still pays him 40% of the profit based upon the systems that he put in place. And he still steps in and makes some phone calls because he still has the relationships with the people that are there in Kansas City. All right. But it's not a bad gig, right? Because he can focus on other things, but he created the business in a logical, like a businessman would, right? Or a business person would, right? So he attacked it. But the time to do that, especially when you're newer in the business, is now, right? Start with the end in mind. One of Covey's habits is we start with the end in mind, and I got to look into the future to see how I want to live my life today so that I end up the way I want to end up in the future, right? Okay, that's why you've seen the in Stephen Covey's 7 Habits. People also, by the way, you think Michael Mayer, remember one of the coaching sessions that he goes through? One of the assignments was to do the 4 eulogies, right? You had to write 4 eulogies. You write a eulogy for yourself, something that you would want your spouse to say at your funeral. What would you want your kids to say about you at your funeral? What would you want your friends to say about at your funeral? And what would you like your coworkers to say about you at your funeral, right? And why do they do that? Well, that's with the end in mind. Here's where I want to end up. I want to end up not with, and by the way, remember we talk about deeper purposes in what we do, that none of us were put on earth here to sell real estate, but there's a deeper purpose while we're here, right? Some of that digs into that a little bit too, because I guarantee I don't want people to say he knew the FAR bar contract like the back of his hand. All right. Okay. Right. Okay. That's great. And it's a necessary skill I need, all right, to do what I do. But at the end of the day, there's I want people whose lives I've affected, right? I want people that, say, hey, you know what? I got to tell a quick story, right? So you talk about the ability, what real estate can do, right? So Jeanette and I, it's been many years now. Probably, I guess it's been 23 plus years. No, probably 22 years ago, right? 20 years ago, let's say. Trying to think of how old Preston is. Jeanette was riding up the elevator, and she was at the Carrabba's group. She moved over to Outback when she was the CFO of Carrabba's, and riding up the elevator, and in the elevator on the second floor, they were on the third floor. On the second floor was the local chapter of Big Brothers Big Sisters. So she opened a dialogue, got into it. We didn't have any children at the time, and so she got information, and Jeanette and I became a big couple. Right, for this little guy, Preston. He lived in Clearwater in the hood, all right? Prototypical, and I've told this story many times, prototypical, he had 3 siblings. He was the youngest of 4. All 4 had different dads. Preston's dad was in prison, right? Mom working hard, doing the best she could, but the poverty cycle was in full effect, right? It was just, he was in kindergarten, right? So we got hooked up with him as a big couple. I ended up spending more time. I had more time as a realtor. I had a little more free time, right, as a real estate agent. So I ended up, a couple times a month, I'd pick him up from school, make sure he's doing his homework, take him out, play ball, get ice cream, do all the typical stuff you think, right? Well, we kind of engaged with him, and we learned that his mom, learned their story. Well, again, and this is what freedom can do for you, though, right? The ability to have resources and time and money, right, allowed me to do. So down the road, through a process of doing different things, all right, if you look at it, Preston had a little bit of the deck stacked against him, right? I mean, it's just fact. We can try and argue with the fact. Now, you can argue with the facts that the deck is stacked, and you can go out and protest that the deck is stacked, or you can say, okay, well, if the deck is stacked, what am I going to do to overcome the stacked deck? Right. And so that's what I poured into Preston a lot, is that, and never, even at an early age, down to how he spoke. All right. Again, this is, let me be a little politically incorrect here. All right. But do you know how many times I said to Preston at the age of 5 through he was 10, Preston, the word is ask, not axe. Okay. People say, well, I'm just telling you, I know Jeanette interviews people all day long, right, for potential jobs and potential ability to survive in a society that demands certain levels of communication. And so I drove that out of him, right? And and every time I correct him incessantly, all right? And it's hard because he was hearing it all day at home, right? So he hears it for only a couple hours from me a month, and hears it from at home all day long. So he had to fight it. All right. Well, Preston, we did a little more than, and this is not touting our own horns. This is just telling, we helped pay for Sylvan tutoring for him to get him back up to where he had already had he was forced to skip or get held back a grade in first grade. He was held back again in 5th grade for a second time. And we rescued that whole situation because the statistics, if you look at somebody that's held back, that's 2 years behind, dropout rate by high school is like 98%. Okay, it's huge, right? So we did get this. And by the way, I'm a huge Sylvan proponent just because we paid for Sylvan. His mom got him there, and over a summer, we talked the teacher into passing him. All right, for 5th grade. And I said, I'll fix it. But you cannot hold him back. All right, and we got him over summer. All right, they took him in at Sylvan. They did an initial baseline testing. He was testing at about a 1st grade reading level in 5th grade. Okay, all right, and the whole idea was reading comprehension. I could help with the math part. I can't help you with reading comprehension. I don't know how to overcome those difficulties, right? So they started digging. The next thing you know, check this. All right, not only does Preston start thriving in 6th grade, okay, but thrives so well they allow him to skip 7th and go right into 8th. All right, to get caught back up. So now he's right on line with the school. Then you guys know where Clearwater Calvary Christian School is there at Clearwater Baptist Church. Okay, so he was struggling. He was getting around some in 9th grade, first part of 9th grade. So we paid for him to go to Calvary Christian School. All right, they helped us out a little bit because they knew he was from a lower income family, so they gave him a little bit of a scholarship, and we covered the rest. All right, Preston. Then we sent him to a college in Kansas because he didn't test well, right? So it's hard to get. You had to SAT scores were not doing so well, all right? But then through a series of things, we brought him back and went to Hillsborough Community College. because they have a guaranteed, like Valencia does here. You get your AA, and if you get an AA, you're automatically accepted into UCF here, right? Okay, so if you get your AA at Hillsborough Community, you're automatically accepted into USF over there in Tampa. Did that. Now, boom, Preston in May of this year graduated from USF. First generation college graduate, right? First generation college graduate, and has a very well-paying job working for, what's the company? It's a food service company that does a lot of stuff at the stadiums, and they also run a lot of, but he's in their management trainee program, and just thriving right now, right? And so it's the little things, right? Hey, kudos to his mom for putting him up for availability in the, she knew that he needed some exposure to something else, right? But what if you could do, I'm not saying that that's for you, right? But, and we still, we're going to have, Preston's coming over one of these next 2 weekends to come, spend some time with our family. He's like part of our family, right? And it just, it's incredible to see what you can do. That's, I would hope he might come out and speak at my funeral. All right. Or at least give me a thumbs up on a eulogy sometime, rather than, hey, somebody says, hey, you know what? He really helped me get through that contract issue. All right. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. All right. But there's something deeper, right? Okay. So let's continue to look for those things in our lives too, right? That we can do that, and understand that this avenue can provide, this is what provided me the avenue to help Preston, right? Was the ability to do that, right? You guys, when we adopted Samuel from Russia, agents that you guys may, none of you I'm seeing on screen were around at the time, because it's been, 8 or 9 years, but the agents were fully involved in that. We did a Facebook Live session with me from Moscow into our office meeting the day I picked up Samuel, because everybody was invested in this whole process, right? It was kind of cool. And the funds that, we were able to provide through Future Home Realty allowed, which came to me, allowed us to do those kind of things. So why not have that kind of, exposure in your life? Why not have that ability to really affect change in areas that you're passionate about, right? And do some things. All right. So that being said, we understand that what to do is not the problem, but to do is the problem, right? Okay. That's our biggest hurdle. All right, is not what to do. All right, we know what to do, but to do is the biggest hurdle. Give me some feedback, and I might unplug you and plug you back in. So if we have some delay, all right. That
I just lost the vision.
Go ahead.
No.
Anna, hey, Anna.
Yes, I cannot see anything. I lost you. I cannot see. I can hear you, but I cannot see you.
Oh, okay. You can't see. Can the rest of you see me?
I just.
Yeah. Maybe you clicked a button. We can't see.
I clicked something. I don't know what happened. Just lost the vision.
All right, no problem. I'll tell you what's on the screen. It says, what's your biggest roadblock right now? All right. And to that, we're lending to the fact of, when I say roadblock, what's your biggest roadblock to implementing? Right? Because we know that to do is the problem, and that's implementation, right? So help me out here. How can I help you implement better? All right. Anybody want to share a roadblock for them?
I can.
Go ahead, Sandra.
Oh, okay. What I guess the biggest road block for me is converting. I had conversations with people, and for example, had happened to me. I meet people in the open house. She was very pleased with me. Set up an appointment for a buyer consultation. She canceled because, some taxes that she needed to take care of. Perfect. Then we set up another meeting, and after that, she just disappeared. Didn't answer the phone, didn't email me, and that's one example.
Right.
It happened many times throughout the year. So I don't know if that's something normal, or am I doing something wrong, not approaching correctly. So far, that's my biggest roadblock.
Plug back in, and thank you for sharing, and here's what happens when that occurs, right? Obviously, that becomes ingrained, right? And then now we start to think that's the norm. And so then it becomes demotivating to do it's not very motivating to plant seeds if your crop doesn't come, right? Right? It's not, you're not like, I can't wait to go plant again in the spring when last fall there was no harvest, right? It's like, here we go again. So the only thing I can encourage you with on that, Sandra, yes, it is normal, all right, for people to be flaky, all right, and to, stuff happens. So number one, we all agree that we are all unoffendable, all right? It means we refuse to be offended, okay, by the way people might, react or treat us or no show us or whatever the case may be, all right? And the answer is, to me, would be if I had set up 5 buyer consults that week, all right, I'm going to nail 3 out of the 5, right? So it's a volume game where people will, just again, the answer is kind of do more, right? Because as you do more, you're going to get better. And then maybe make that tweak we talked about too, about, hey, look, maybe let's not do the buyer consult. Let's just set up a showing, right? Let's try to get it, let's get you pre-approved and let's get you out there and let's go look at some property. Because I'm just telling you, there is something, once they start seeing property with you, then you become the go-to person to do it. So, hey, Rafael, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, Bob. How about yourself?
Good.
You
Good
are comfortable.
What's that?
You look comfortable.
Am I on? Can you guys see me?
Yes.
Yes.
How do you turn this thing off? I try to keep myself hidden for your benefit. Obviously, I didn't. I was not able to succeed on that. But my biggest roadblock right now, yes, I am very comfortable.
Okay, I'm gonna put you on speaker so the rest of the group here live can hear you. So go, Rafael.
All right, my biggest roadblock is that I just got to Florida from California, and the way that I did business out there is a little bit different. I'm doing 2 open houses this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, for a new listing that Cindy has, and I'm really looking forward to it and see what I experience out there. Now, where I come from, open houses were very successful for me. That's how I got 95% of my business, and finding buyers and sellers. Most of the time, only buyers. First-time home buyers was kind of my specialty. The thing that I do different over there, which I don't know how that's going to work in here, I wouldn't show a house to someone that I was not the way you have the 4 things. If you were not pre-approved, I'm not walking with you anywhere. You had to be completely pre-approved. If you did not have a lender, I get you a lender. I get my lender on the phone, and you talk to the lender. And if the lender says he's going to be okay, he looks okay, of course, anything can happen. But I wouldn't go out to show any properties. All the effort that I did was with someone that at least I had a better than a 50-50 chance of getting them into a house. One of the things that it didn't matter to me how many people came to the open house. My purpose in the open house is to get an appointment, at least one appointment. And the appointment meant for them to come to my office, not for me to go to their house or meet them at a house that they wanted to look at. There's always exceptions for everything. You have to, in my opinion, have the ability to kind of prejudge the person, which most of the time I screw that up. But the few times that I was successful at doing that, I was successful in getting a transaction out of that. But my whole goal of doing an open house is to get one appointment. And after I felt comfortable with the individual or the individuals, if you will, I would ask them if they are busy and how busy they are and when they are less busy. And I would pop the question, what's better for you, during the week or during the weekend? And if they, I mean, I give them two choices. And if they said over the weekend, then I would ask them, okay, how about Saturday? What's better for you, Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon? And, or if they say during the week, I would say, what's better for you? Is it Wednesday or Thursday? And I would help them pick a day, and I said, what's better for you? Is it in the morning, afternoon, or in the evening? I give them choices until I narrow them down to the time that they wanted to meet at their convenience, but always with the thought of meeting them. And it was a positive experience. I never thought of them rejecting me. And if they did, you know, who cares? So that's my biggest roadblock, is I'm going to do this for the first time this Saturday and Sunday.
Well, and Rafael, let me jump in, because twofold. First of all, your roadblock is, I mean, and you've already kind of overcome it because you've got your Saturday and Sunday lined up. And I have just knowing how you engage with people in general. All right. Your success in California will translate here. Trust me on that. All right. So let me pour that into you, number one. Number two, I agree with you as far as that's why the four things, right? Again, and Sandra, you just heard Rafael kind of say, hey, look, that's what he did. And that's what worked for him, was getting them to come in and do a buyer consult, right, in the office. And there's nothing wrong with that, because that is a litmus test, right? A litmus test. If they're going to show up for that, then you're going to do it. For me, and again, like Rafael said, there are exceptions to everything. Here's a thought. I highly encourage you, if you're going to do an open house, why not have a lender with you? It's safer to have two people at a place.
I'd love to have a lender with me. I would love to have a lender with me.
Yeah, so reach out. And there are lenders, even in this 100K group, right? I mean, trust me, I have to kibosh them from, you know, trying to sell you all day long, all right? I delete their posts. But if you went out there and said, hey, look, give me who's out there that wants my business, is willing to sit in an open house and knows first-time home buyer programs, has you know, enough bullets in the belt that are going to help you. Again, like I said, it's safer. And you could just say, hey, look, why don't you guys go over here real quick, and he can pre-qualify you, or she can pre-qualify you in probably 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that.
Right. You know, and I think that's a huge way to do that and alleviate one step in, you know, again, I understand the whole idea is that if they are willing to come meet with you at the office, but if we could get all that stuff done, right then and there, and then
absolutely,
that first appointment of, hey, let's go look at 4 homes, right? I think we're a step ahead of the game.
You know what happened, Bob? I'm still kind of, you know, I started with Keller Williams, so I'm still trying to break away from that train of thought and just be open to, you know, other ways to do this, because at the end of the day, we all just want to get transaction, more money, help more people, and move on.
Yeah, that's good. Heavily the buyer consult, you know, concept and so on and so forth. There's nothing wrong with it. Don't get me wrong, but I think you do the buyer consult even at the open house.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna try and get those 4 questions answered right then and there. Because if they're not going to fit those 4 criteria, then, you know, we either if it's something that can be overcome with time, then we throw them in the crock pot, right? But if it's not something that can be overcome with time, or if it's a, hey, look, I'm not loyal to anybody. I've never been loyal to, I've been divorced 7 times. That I have an issue in my life. All right. So whatever the case is, then, hey, maybe, maybe something that might have a loyalty issue. Now, this leads me to my next joke. You know, in the latest contract, when we had the contract revision in April, right? Our contracts used to say loan commitment, right? And now we've gone away from loan commitment. It's become loan approval deadline. All right. The new contract says loan approval. All right. And my standard running joke on that is because there were too many men in the contract committee, and, you know, men have a problem with commitment. Like that. That's pretty funny, guys. Come on now.
Yes, it is.
All right. Okay. Good deal. All right. All right. So,
hey, Bob.
Yeah.
Bob, just one quick thing, has nothing to do with this, so I'll try to be quick. I just had my photo, my headshot taken on Monday.
I've known you for about a month and a half, and there's nothing quick with you, but go ahead.
You, go ahead and put the timer on. I'd love to know the result. But just to let you know, the photographer, after kind of working with him, I asked him, had you ever thought of owning your own home? And he said, you know, it's interesting. I did photos for over 3,000 real estate agents last year, and only 2 asked me that question. And this year, you were the first one to ask me that question. I'm going to end it right there.
There at the office?
What's that?
You're doing, this is the photographer doing the headshot?
This is the photographer doing the headshots at the office. I did it on Monday. I got his personal, I'm texting him with the personal cell phone. I got his email address. I got the email address and phone number of the lady, of Katie, that was with him. And then I took him from where he had the camera to the conference room where she was working. And then I said to him, let me tell you something. I don't know if anybody's ever told you this. I am going to help you buy a house, and she's going to make it a home. And he said he was blown away with that statement. That's it. I'm done.
No, that's fantastic. That's, you know what? And so many, remember, we talked about this last time, right? That the issue is we're not asking for the business.
Yeah.
Right? You got to ask, you know, for the business and see potential opportunity that's there. And that's crazy, right? Yeah. So that reminds me, Rafael, and I'll be quick because you can tell me, Bob, hey, I've known you for 2 months and nothing's quick on your end either. So, so right when Future Home Realty, so 2004, 2005, right? We got started with Future Home Realty, and we used to have our office meetings at a place, Sweet Tomatoes. You guys ever seen those Sweet Tomatoes restaurants? They have, you know, kind of like a salad bar and all that stuff. Well, they didn't open up till like 11, right? And so we'd have our office meetings 9:30 to 10:45. Before, they have really good blueberry muffins. Maybe they still do, probably, right? Okay, really good blueberry. So I talked to him, and it was right by our office. I said, hey, look, if you guys can open up for us a little early and, you know, put coffee on and maybe make some extra blueberry muffins early or something like that, we'll do it. So 2 funny stories there, right? We started to grow. Future Home Realty started to grow. And one of our first, our single-digit agents, if you come to the Christmas parties, especially in Tampa, you get a chance to meet what we call our single-digit agents. These are like the first 10, right? Now we're at 1,300, but the first 10, and they wear that badge of honor, you know, very high, that they were one of the first 10, right? And so Penny Cooper, a British lady, great lady. She doesn't sell much real estate anymore, but came to every office meeting. And she came to me about probably 5 months in, and she goes, Bob. I said, yeah. We were just getting ready to start the meeting. She says, we're out of muffins. And I said, oh, well, let me go contact them and see if they can put another batch in. And she said to me, says, don't you remember the good old days when we had more muffins than agents? And now we have more agents than muffins. And I said, you know what? I want more agents than muffins. I'm rooting for, hey, I'll make them. I'll go back there and make another batch myself if it means we have too many agents here. So that's my goal, to grow that. So, but the story is that they hired one of their servers they had to bring in early to help get us cleaned up before they opened once a month, right? So this lady had served our agents for like 18 months, right? And they were nice and everything else. And next thing you know, all right, she made the announcement to me, and I kind of took it to task to the agents, that she said, oh, I'm so excited. I just bought my first home. And I said, really? And she said, yes. And I said, who'd you use? Oh, somebody from Remax or something. And I kind of publicly shamed the agents in the room and said, you've seen this lady for 18 months now, all right, and not one of you ever. And so that kind of goes to your story, Rafael, about that, right? Is always be aware and doing it. So, all right. So, and we've got about 6 minutes to wrap up. So the biggest roadblock, all right, is action, right? Okay. So if our biggest roadblock is that, all right, here's a question for you. If not, write this down. You can kind of think about this over the next 2 weeks. If you were consulting yourself, what advice would you give? That's a tough one, right? because it's real easy to tell other people what to do. Trust me, this is me, all right? This room happens to have a mirror right behind Angie here, so, all right? So remember, every time I'm teaching myself, right? Because I've got things to do to grow my business, just like you have things to do to grow yours, right? Are we going to let life get in the way, or are we going to actually time block and make sure we put priorities on the things that are going to generate revenue? Because remember, the answer to our problem is revenue, all right? So if the answer to our problem is revenue, we need to focus on solutions that are focused around generating revenue. Are you with me? All right. And yes, I know the laundry needs to get done. Yes, I know the dishwasher needs to be unloaded. Yes, I know that Sports Center needs to be watched. All right. Okay. That's what I tell myself, right? All these different things. But the reality is that a revenue generating event for me, right? What is going to generate revenue? All right. One of the best things I ever did is I had a group of agents in one of the classes that were a little more experienced, but they were struggling a little bit. So they loved it. I brought them in. I said, okay, here's our assignment for the next 2 weeks. I want you to go and I want you to pretend that you've got a brand new agent coming in that you're going to consult, and you've got to develop a 6-week plan for them to just get their business ramped up, right? And they're all right. So that was their favorite thing to do, because they were going to tell somebody else what to do, right? So they came back, and some of them, 8 pages, bullet points, all sorts of things, attachments and all sorts of, links that they could go to and everything else they had. That was the best assignment they'd ever had, because they knew that, and then I took it and I looked it over all of them, and I just flipped it around and handed it right back to them. Said, now go do it. Right? Because the answer is they know what to do, and they're happy to tell somebody else what to do, but they're not willing to do it themselves. All right. And this is myself included, right? Okay. It's go give your long-winded lectures to the mirror, right? Okay. And say, hey, look, now's the time for you to get up and do it. So think about that, right? That bullet point. All right. And Anna, if you can't see it, it says, if you were consulting.
No, I can.
Okay, good. All right. Consulting yourself, what advice would you give? All right. Then next, you have a strategic plan to dig deeper with your network, right? Remember that's the whole thing about orange groves, all right, is to do that. Now, Raphael, right, you've got an orange grove out in California, and I get that, but the neat thing is that you're going to continue to, your corn that you're going to meet this weekend on Saturday and Sunday is going to become your orange grove here. Right. And so we understand that. And so then how are we going to dig deeper with that? So let's start thinking about a strategic plan to do that. And then again, write some of this stuff down, because I'm a firm believer that when you write these things down, good things start to happen. All right. By the way, we all know this. I'm going to repeat it again. Activity breeds activity. Right. The cosmos. All right. If you want to think of it that way, want to know you're willing to work. So when you show that you're willing to work, all right, here's what happens. When you go sit an open house, whether or not you met somebody that you were able to convert and they meet the 4 criteria, here's what happens. Somebody that you've been working with for the last 6 months pops out of nowhere and says they're ready to buy. I'm a firm believer that when you start activity starts to feed upon itself, and good things start to happen, right? It could be just a matter of you posting a little selfie or say, hey, I'm here at an open house, a bank foreclosure on Facebook, because that's what you think you should do. By the way, it's not a bad idea. And one of the people in your friends list says, oh, yeah, Sandra, she's a realtor. I forgot about that. My cousin's moving to town. And next thing you know, you've got, but it was the activity of the open house that instigated that initiation. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So just understand, all right, what that looks like. All right. Okay. Some more orange groves. We're going to game plan for accountability. I'll post these after the fact, because I want to make sure we're done as close to 11 as possible. All right. When you have an accountability session, you want to identify clear, measurable performance goals with your accountability partner. All right. You don't want to be vague. It's got to be very specific, because it's something we can measure. We can come back and say, did you do it? You got to agree upon successful measurement techniques to assess the progress, right? Okay. If someone comes to me, if I'm Cynthia's accountability partner and she says, I want to do X, I say, great. How are we going to know that you've done X? All right. Well, I'm going to show you 2 pictures of me on different dates, time date stamped, of the 2 open houses that I did. Perfect. That's a great way that I can measure all right, to your progress on that, okay, and so on and so forth. Then we're going to take it the next step and say, okay, now how are we going to measure the conversion in that, right? So Sandra says, hey, look, I'm doing open houses, but I'm not converting. Well, when she sits down with her accountability partner, I said, I'm going to keep a list of some things that I've done and some and things and people that I've met and how many I'm actually converting. So my goal is to do that. And if not, then I've got to decide I've got to make some adjustments. I think that's the next time, because that way people can provide feedback and coaching to adjust your performance results based upon the specifics that we set forth as our achievable goal. Are you with me? So many times, I'm just telling you, accountability time becomes catch up over coffee. I get that. All right. But catching up over coffee with another realtor, that's usually who your accountability partner is not a revenue generating concept unless we get to this. All right. Unless we get to some of these deeper, okay, all right, coffee's done. All right. Or, you know, I'm glad everybody's good. Everybody's healthy. Families, I caught that up in 3 minutes. Now for the next 57 minutes, we're going to dig into, hey, last time each of us defined clear, measurable performance goals. We talked about this. I can be honest with you. I only did one open house. So you know what? How do you think what we should do to make that help me achieve that next time? I'm gonna make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Or I sat my open houses, but I don't have the fruit that I was looking for out of those open houses. What do you suggest? Well, how many people did you meet at the open house? How did you convert it? Well, I only met 3 people at the open house. Well, you know what? Maybe we should try and find a different place that's going to generate more traffic, because the more traffic you have, the better chances you have of generating somebody that meets the 4 criteria. And we start to have these dialogues amongst ourselves. Are you with me? Okay. Mm-hmm. So it's not a socialization hour, because I again, myself included, I'm a very social person. I love to catch up with people, right? But I've got to sit down and say, hey, look, you know what? Revenue generating time. Okay. I got to get to work. Right. Okay. And by the way, if you had a boss and you work for somebody, they wouldn't let you chit chat for an hour and a half. Yeah. All right. They wouldn't let you look at Facebook for an hour and a half. All right. They'd want to see results and say, hey, look, you know, I was expecting this. You're a paralegal. I was expecting this brief to be done by now, and it's not. You're fired. All right. Problem is with us, we're our own boss and we don't fire ourselves often enough. All right. It's true. Okay. Right. And so we got to learn a way to fire ourselves, or threaten to fire ourselves at least. All right. And then we're going to use that feedback to create a new plan of action. All right. So this is kind of just an agenda, if you will, for a good accountability session. All right. And again, I'll post these on the Facebook page so y'all can have reference to the PowerPoint. All right. But this is kind of just a good way to go through a good accountability session, right? Then we're going to take that, we're going to use that feedback, and we create a new plan of action for the next time period, so that we can come back and go back up to part the third point down, all right, that we can start to measure those techniques and or assess our performance and so on and so forth, all right? Because we want to affect change, right? We want to get better, all right? So these are what we're supposed to do from last session. You can take a look at those. All right, we're not going to, by the way, anybody start reading The Greatest Salesman in the World?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. Grab that book, Greatest Salesman in the World. It's thin. I carry a copy with me at all times. Where is mine? Wrong section. Okay. Looks like this. Easy read.
Yeah.
All right. Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. All right. It's a powerful book. Okay. You could read it literally in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you go back through, if you really get excited, go back in the 100K things and look at there's a Word doc that has my take on the scrolls that you're going to see in here. And there's also 10 different sessions. If you saw, I probably recently did it on my Monday Motivations, I was reading my takes on the scrolls. What are the scrolls? They all come from this. All right. A very powerful book. So if you haven't, we usually read a book a month. So first month was Michael Mayer's book. Now this is our second book. All right, to do that. And then here's our suggestions for this time. All right, making the 4 rituals. Again, I'll post these. We're big into physical fitness. We meet with our accountability partner, have a one-on-one meeting. Remember what's a one-on-one meeting? That's from Michael Mayer's book, right? Go out and just catch up with somebody. Now that's different than an accountability meeting, right? You're not going to do an accountability meeting with a potential client. You're doing an accountability meeting with somebody that's going to bust your chops. All right. The one-on-one meeting, you are going to socialize. You sit there for an hour and you're going to try and leave with an action plan. What does that mean? How can you help them? Right? That's your whole goal for a one-on-one meeting. Find a need that they have. And it may be as simple as, hey, I just got rear-ended on Florida Turnpike exit off of State Road 50. Sound like a true story, by the way. It's true. All right. So I need somebody that can help repair my X5 that I got rear-ended, with. All right. So maybe that's somebody that can help, do that. So that's what a one-on-one meeting is. And then have a traffic generating event. That's revenue generation, right? To revenue, both a one-on-one meeting is potential revenue generation, and traffic generating events are immediate revenue generation. Okay. And then Heidi and Brian, let me know if you want me to come meet you at an open house sometime. All right. I'll check my schedule. And then remember, these are all our commitments, all the stuff we agree to do. And you can see the PowerPoints we'll get you. Are you on Facebook, Cynthia? Okay. All right. We might have to get you on Facebook because that's where we just, if nothing else, for the group page. A lot of motivation and help coming through that Facebook page. All right. That we roll through. Cool. All right. Anybody we're 4 minutes late. We started 4 minutes late, so I'll use that as my excuse. Anybody got any quick things they want to share out there? No. Nope. You guys good? All right. Keep at it. Those of you who are live, thanks for coming. All right. Those of you who are out there, thanks for showing up. Stay dry. Pray for the people in the panhandle for sure. Hopefully they can weather this thing strongly, and we'll pick it up and go. And if you need anything in the meantime, reach out. 100K page is there. We're here. Just reach out any way you need. Cool?
All right.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
All
right. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Can I be here? Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello. Who's this?
Oh, this is Barbara Ann. I didn't know if I would be heard or not the way I'm hooked up. I'm watching you on my laptop, and I've got my phone so I have volume because I was getting no volume over the laptop.
Oh, got it. Okay. So did you have a quick question? Or are you good?
Oh, I was going to add the fact that I have a listing coming up, and I did an estate sale there before, but then we just did another charity sale out of it, which generated the neighborhoods coming in and knowing that the property was going to be available.
That's awesome. That is fantastic. And I saw you post that on the 100K page. That's a great idea. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and I got a couple of crock pots from it. And
good.
Then and then the 2 crock pots from it, and then the neighbor behind us was wondering what was happening with the house because we've been the owners are just kind of slow about the whole thing. It's been vacant. And so they been slow in making decisions and getting the work done in it.
Awesome.
So I want things done in that way. So they had, a friend and a relative both. So they took my cards on it.
That's great. And the key is the activity, right? You just decided to go make things happen. And when you do it, activity breeds activity. So that is fantastic.
Yeah, I didn't think I got a little bit more aggressive since I've been with you all because I've had, they donated everything in this place about 6 months ago, and we did estate sales. But I wasn't as aggressive with the real estate, and then we did have a sign out coming soon with my other real estate sign.
Yep.
But it never, things hadn't been totally done. I didn't want to, and I was trying to generate my own, buyer out of it also.
Sure. That's nothing wrong with that at all.
Too. That. So, now the thing is pushing her because she had custom made vanities for the bathroom. She was insisted on it, but the countertops do not match the tile at all. It's really gross.
Yeah, so that's going to be a hindrance to sell. But you know what? Everything sells at a price. So, right, you just got to she's got to adjust price or, fix the condition, one of the two. But
when they came and measured, I talked to him about having countertop samples that matched if he had something. I said, we got to make sure it goes with the tile. And he said, yes. But when they brought her samples, they brought her the whole thing. And of course, she just picked out what she likes, and she's very modern.
Right.
Where this house it's got a bit of retro to it.
Hey, Barbara, I've got to wrap up because I got another meeting to get to. So
That's all right, but thank you very much. I just wanted to check because this technology thing like this is all new to me.
Yeah, no problem. That's great.
Okay.
I'm glad you could join us, and look forward to hearing from everything else and seeing the results of your other activity.
Okay, and I didn't take that job.
Oh, you did not. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
No, actually, in talking with her, she took my advice because she really didn't need somebody full time, and she's got hospice coming in free a couple times a day.
Well, perfect. See, then she's got it covered. That's the right thing to do. So, good deal.
You know, God'll bless me. You know,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, too. Well, thank you. Have a blessed
You bet,
day.
Barbara. Have a great day.
You too. Bye now.
Bye.